Okay, we're back in state compliance.
Great.
Do we have to repeat everything or what?
No, we're good. We're all recorded, right? Hope.
Got that part, yep.
Wait, what?
You sure
We're good.
hope.
We're good.
Okay. So, so my update briefly, we're still learning Zoom. Just kidding. We had the military back down this past weekend. We're back in state compliance.
Great.
Do we have to repeat everything or what?
No, we're good. We're all recorded, right? Hope.
Got that part, yep.
Wait, what?
You sure hope.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What was?
Okay, so.
We're good.
Okay. So, so my update. We're still learning Zoom. Just kidding. We had the military back down this past weekend. We're back in state compliance. Is everybody else hearing this?
Do we have to repeat everything or what?
Yeah.
We're good. We're all recorded, right?
Got that. Yeah,
Okay,
it's like feedback.
Am I back? Can y'all hear me? Or
Yes, sir. I can
I
hear
just
you.
closed it.
Yes, I can hear you.
No,
Okay,
Yes,
we're just.
I can hear you also.
Thank you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I guess I was getting a 15-second delay, so I heard Commissioner Fadia's comments 3 times. It just kept coming back. Okay, my apologies. Military came down, did testing. They did 62 tests on Saturday and 9 yesterday. Once again, thank you to Mike Willow and his team for coordinating and accommodating the military as they came in to provide that free testing for us. Mike and his group are continuing to monitor the viability of ongoing operations daily, as opposed to maybe every other day or 3 days a week or 2 days a week with respect to our drive-through testing facility and our hotline. We're seeing somewhat of a decrease in volume. But of course, I think I probably speak for everybody when I say there's a little niggling doubt in the back of all of our heads of, well, now that we're reopening business and people are moving about much more freely in the community and throughout the state, that there's a risk or a concern of an outbreak or a spike in positive cases. And so we're trying to be as cautious and hesitant to wrap up our COVID-19 response to give a little bit of time to make sure that we don't have some flare up and that we aren't prepared if a flare up occurs. So big thanks to Mike. Miss Warnix is been there at the call-in center. I think pretty much every day. So Mike and his entire team has been doing a yeoman's job for well over a month now. Really appreciate it. Other than that, that's really about it as far as what's fit to print and to share with everybody right now. We still are at a total of 6 cases. We don't have any new cases yet. We had 1 retest positive, one of our first 5 retested positive, and then we had a unique 6th one, but nothing else. Last week, we're hopeful that this week's testing won't reveal any cases either. Or will reveal that we don't have a penetration of COVID-19 into our community that we're all concerned about. The only other thing is with this weekend's testing, B County has now successfully tested over 1% of our total population. Once again, thanks to Mike and the crew across the street and over at the Expo Center for all their efforts in getting that done. So cautiously optimistic moving forward. So move on to agenda item number 6, public comment. Do I have any members of the public that are present that are interested in communicating?
Sir, I do. like to jump in if you don't mind.
Sure.
We received
This is
26.
Willow.
Yes, sir. 26 gallons of hand sanitizer from the CBRAC. And so should any unit need it, let me know and we can get them their hand sanitizer. It is the alcohol based, so it's applied better with the spray as opposed to the gel. We also have 270 gallons worth of bleach. Sheriff, your jail said that they could use it to help in the sanitation and stuff. So we have it there for first responders, for all of us. So again, we got that. That was a donation from a chemical company out of Victoria. So we're being supplied still through non-government agencies. And so it's made the job a lot easier. That's awesome.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7. The following items are of an administrative nature. Commissioners Court has been furnished documentation on each item, and all such items may be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a commissioner or the county judge.
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second? I have a second. Thank you. Motion
And
is
that motion
second.
was by Commissioner DeWitt.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Farias, did you give the second?
I did. And is there anything, April, that we need to catch on this, or any of the bills, or anything unusual?
No, sir, nothing unusual or that needs to be brought up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Deliberate and consider action on the following items. Agenda item number 8, project expenditure approval, PEA, for Smith Seckman Reed invoice from March 2020 for the Sheriff's Office New Jail.
Commissioner DeWitt, move to approve.
I'll second Commissioner Haggard.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 9, PEA for Walker Engineering invoice dated April 20, 2020 for the Sheriff's Office New Jail.
Commissioner DeWitt, move to approve.
Commissioner Haggard.
I have a motion and a second. The motion was by Commissioner DeWitt. The second was by Commissioner Haggard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 10, reject bid #RFQ 19/20-004, selection of engineering firm to complete application and project implementation for the Texas Infrastructure Fund TIF program through the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, approved during the April 27th, 2020 special called meeting due to bid not being needed and procured in error.
This Commissioner DeWitt, Judge, what happened? This is something we thought we needed, but we didn't. So I'll make a motion to reject the bid that was not needed and procured in error.
I'll second that bid. This is Commissioner Haggard.
Thank you, gentlemen. I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 11, approval to submit County TIF Grant 2020 program application.
Move to approve is presented.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Haggard, second by Commissioner Farias. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 12, safety and security light in B County at the intersection of Yar Road and Presa Road by American Electric Power.
Yes, Judge, that's my item. That's one of those areas that was brought to my attention here recently. It's a bus stop also where it's dark in the mornings. It's for the safety of the children waiting for the bus. And the good news about it, that the county's not gonna incur any charges as far as the actual equipment to put it up. It's gonna be done free of charge. So that's the good news.
That's great.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Salazar and a second from Commissioner DeWitt. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 13, request for intergovernmental agreement with the City of Beeville to assist on the issue of animal control outside the city limits, tabled from the April 27th, 2020 special called meeting. Commissioner Salazar, would you like to take the lead on this?
I was on mute. Yes, sir. Like earlier was stated, we met through Zoom, and really the only change we made was that the sheriff will be the contact person whenever the services is needed. Other than that, the rest of the MOU remained the same, and we were pretty comfortable about it to bring it before the court, myself and Commissioner DeWitt. So having said that, if you guys had a chance to review it, I make a motion
Yes.
to approve.
I'll second that, Commissioner, with a couple of comments.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Commissioner DeWitt? You have the floor.
Commissioner DeWitt, the comments basically, we talked to them about two items that the final decision should be made by the sheriff and chief of police, which is in the new contract. We asked them if it were possible to do a lump sum fee instead of the detailed per hour, per euthanization, per travel. And they were pretty firm that the city council didn't feel it should be that way. They wanted to do the other. So if that's what they wanted to do, that was fine with us. On the actual agreement, I looked at it this morning. If you will, the third item down talks about animal control calls shall constitute for inside a home or business. I think that's a typo. It probably should say at or near a home or business. If they only respond to inside a home or business, I don't think that's what our goal was. So I would recommend we change that wording from inside to at or near. If y'all have had a chance to look at that, we got it on our cell phones this morning, but it's about the third item down on the first page, talks about animal control calls shall constitute inside a home or business, but I think it should be at or near.
I'll change my motion to reflect that, Commissioner, and hopefully the city will accept it. I'm sure they will.
Yes, I think it was just a typo.
Yes, sir.
And we can follow up with Gabby right after this meeting. I was in communication with her earlier this morning on the document as well. So that was a really good catch. Thank you. Do you have anything else, Commissioner DeWitt?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have any comments or discussion with respect to this agenda item?
All I want to say is I want to appreciate Commissioner Salazar taking the lead on this one. And I know that Commissioner DeWitt and I have always fought this for years and years and years. So again, Commissioner, thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Good work.
I have one quick comment, and certainly not within the purview of this agenda item, but for purposes of future discussions, with respect to simplicity and uniformity of the decisions with respect to animals in the county. Do we need to consider putting on a future agenda item, transferring the I don't know what, something, it's our community affairs department has a state designation for animals with rabies or animal, I don't know what the component, I'm sorry, I'm a little ignorant of that. I should have been before I started talking. I've been more prepared, but moving that back to the sheriff's office and out of community affairs with respect to rabies concerns or risks, is that something anybody else has thought about or considered?
We kind of hit this thing right at the very beginning back in 3 years ago, and every time we kept bringing it up, it always went back to the sheriff's office and out of the community affairs office.
Judge, commissioners, if you will, as you or where I was in that position 10 years, there has to be a rabies control officer designated in the county, and traditionally it has been in community affairs. There's some extra training involved. for that position. It's about a week with A&M and their certification involved. It's something we can discuss, but I think we need to move slowly on it, sir.
Okay. Any other comments or with respect to that? Okay. Thank you, Commissioner DeWitt. I appreciate that. Okay, if there's no further discussion, and again, thank you to the city for working with us as we try to navigate through this persistent issue countywide. There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 14, Texas Water Development Board, TWDB, State Fiscal Year 2020 Flood Infrastructure Fund.
Judge, if you will, commissioners, this is something that came to the attention of myself and Mr. Carbajal. The engineering firm that we've been utilizing for the generators at Pettus found some information that there was money available through the Texas Water Development Board. And I think Ivan with ICE International Consulting Engineers is on the line. If he will kind of brief us on this and give us the basics. We had a Zoom meeting with him and his folks, and it was very informative. But Ivan, are you there, sir?
Yes, sir, I am. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners, everyone. Good morning. I'm Ivan Luna with International Consulting Engineers. We'll be brief. I know time is very valuable. So we'll go ahead and just share with you the information that we have regarding the Texas Water Development Board Flood Infrastructure Fund program. With me, I have Mr. Rene Gonzalez. He is actually the company's expert on this topic. He is a former Texas Water Development Board employee, has a long and a very good resume. So he'll be talking about the details, which will be short, but I just want to give you an overview. I want to see if I can share my screen. I want to try to do that. I don't know if that's possible here. Okay. I can do that, but well, then we'll go ahead and
hold on, Mr. Luna.
Yes, sir.
Craig, can you or Candy, can you give Mr. Luna permission to share his screen, or is that something I can do? Let me see. I don't know how to do it.
No, don't worry about it. We can
Yeah,
go
we
ahead.
can go on the phone.
I can send you the slides later. We'll talk about those.
Ivan, if you will, that was presented in our packet. We have that in our packet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then I'll be referring you to the synopsis sheet. It's a 2-page sheet, actually a 3-page sheet. The part that I want to get your attention to is the total funding available. We're talking about $793 million that are available for this particular fund. And there are 4 categories that Mr. Rene Gonzalez is going to go into detail. And in our conversation that we had with Commissioner DeWitt, there's probably at least one project that I know will qualify that we believe it will qualify for that. That's the clearing of Meteor Creek. And also, we want to go ahead and that Rene will go into detail on each one of those 4 categories, because you might be interested. There might be some projects that might fit into that category. But with that said, let me repeat the number: $793 million are available. Now, the other important piece of information in that sheet is the deadline. The deadline to make the bridge application is June 15 of this year, of course. So you submit the bridge application for each project, and then if you get invited, then the full application is due in August 2020. Before Mr. Gonzalez goes into detail, I just want to let you know that I mentioned to Commissioner DeWitt, our business model is what we propose to do is help. If you're interested in pursuing this, our international consulting engineers will fill out the applications for you, do everything that needs to be done, and hopefully it gets approved, and then we can work with you further on. But again, we are offering to complete this application for whatever projects we do this. And then hopefully after that, we'll get approved by the Texas Water Development Board. With that in mind, let me pass on here the presentation to Mr. Gonzalez. Rene?
Hi, good morning, commissioners. How are you all doing? Very nice to see you guys, and very nice to meet you all.
Likewise.
Very nice to meet you. So as Yvonne mentioned, I'm a former Texas Water Development Board employee. I was there in 5 years at the Austin office that oversaw all the different water, sanitary sewer projects. And left right after the creation of the SWIFT program, which is the program that they created in response to the drought. This program was created in response to Harvey and how it affected all kinds of Texas communities, obviously. So what the Water Board is doing is taking the $793 million and they're breaking it up into 4 different types of categories. And they're welcoming all cities, whether they're rural or large urban, to participate in this program. So just be aware that everybody in the state is going after this money. There's 4 different categories of funds that have been created through this program. One of them is for flood protection planning, which is a study for master drainage studies and watershed studies. Another category called Category 2 for planning, acquisition, design, and construction and rehabilitation of infrastructure. Another program for matching funds for any kind of federal project. So if you've ever been approached to participate in a project with FEMA where they're going to do an 80-20 split, you would go to the Water Board to get some of that 20% local match subsidized. And on the last category, it's called Measures Immediately Effective in Protecting Life and Property. So I'm going to just briefly touch, because I know you guys have some of this information in your packets, but the funding that can be utilized from the Water Board is pretty broad. You can come in and do everything from the planning and the feasibility assessments and all the flooding models up on the very front end to create a capital improvement program to help address the different drainage structures that you would need to put in to your community to be able to help alleviate the flooding. Obviously, the program will also consider and fund design aspects and construction aspects, or even if land acquisition is required to expand a ditch or any kind of levee, you have that flexibility in here. And lastly, they're giving you that flexibility to incorporate cutting edge technology through early warning systems and stream gauges and things that can help kind of work with your emergency operations and your emergency management team to be able to utilize sensors that are placed on flood control infrastructure to help kind of provide real-time information to everybody as, you know, we try to respond and deal with emergency events like hurricanes and flash floods. These early warning systems are meant to protect people, and they're meant to keep people safe where they're at, and also to help emergency managers. So basically, as Yvonne mentioned, there is a very brief 2 to 3 page application that is being requested by the Water Board to be submitted by June 15th. And essentially, once that information is submitted, you can apply for as many categories as you want. So let's say you wanted to do a flood study, but you also have a infrastructure project in mind that you know is a repeat offender, if you will, as far as failing every time it rains or a big flood comes. Nothing stops you from applying for more than one category. So you're definitely able to do that. And also I will note that I've done a little bit of math on data that the Water Board is going to be utilizing from the census to dictate what the grant and the local matching shares are going to be for each of those categories. So, you know, the Category 1 flood planning study can go up to a 90% grant and a 10% local share. In the case of B County, for any kind of planning, design, acquisition, and construction projects, you're looking at a 40% grant, 60% loan there. And then on the early warning detection systems, a 65% grant and a 35% loan. And I while the word loan is included on there, the Water Board is creating, in conjunction with the GLO and a couple other state partners, a clearinghouse committee. So that way, like, let's say that you're on the hook for a 30-40% match, you can try to submit the same information to the GLO so they can help give you another grant. So you can kind of minimize your match that you would need to bring in from your own general fund. So the idea here is to try to patchwork together as many grants as possible to fund your overall need. And in the event that you can't get 100% of your grant, they're offering you a loan at 0% interest, which is actually very, very good. So without taking too much time, you know, Yvonne had spoken with Commissioner DeWitt. We wanted to make sure that the entire Commissioner's Court was aware of this opportunity and the fact that ICE is willing to help the county, you know, put together a very quick abridged application for any of the categories that y'all are interested in. So if you guys, you know, want to discuss what you would like for us to do, you know, we're happy to do it. answer any kind of questions. As I mentioned, you know, between all the different categories that are there, by talking to us and explaining to us what your priorities are and what your needs are to try to get some of this money, we can work with that and put it in the right category. We will prepare that documentation for you and get that over to the water board by the deadline.
Sir, this is Commissioner Farias. I see that category 1 is the only one that will utilize in-kind service. So all the category 2, 3, and 4 will not.
It's what I'm looking at right here. Give me just a moment. Yeah, it looks like category 1's the only one. I mean, I think that's what they're trying to do, is make sure that if they do give you the money to do a project, that it's not going to be stalled by any means, because there may not be any dollars needed. And I know in kind, you whether you have professional services or materials or guys in your public works yard, or you know, you can help out and do stuff. It seems like they're not allowing that at this time, according to what documentations they've put out, aside from category 1, which is flood planning.
Okay.
If I may, Judge and Commissioners, one of the things that we've been talking to different entities here in Nueces County and some other areas, and one of the things that we concluded so far, and talking to Renee and other members, is that the Water Development Board is putting a lot of emphasis on category 1. It seems like they want to get communities to do a lot of pre-planning to be able to be ready, if you will, and also have projects that are shovel ready. That is our interpretation. So with every project that you select, there's different phases. You have the planning, you have construction, some of them might have land acquisition, different parts. So we just had a meeting last week with one other entity, and certain projects that they have, when we sat down and talked to them, say, okay, what phase do you want to do? Do you want to go for the whole thing, or do you want to go for the design part first? And if there's some land acquisition, you want to include that, and the construction at a later point in time for the next cycle, things of that. So I just want you guys to have that in mind should you decide to select some projects or move forward with any of this. Thank you.
And just to add to that, one last thing is that as to further that is having worked at the water board, especially in the program division, the water board this is a new thing for them, flood control infrastructure. So I can tell you is that they are very big fans of a programmatic approach of coming in and piecing your project together and doing it in chunks and creating a long-term partnership with the Texas Water Development Board. They're great partners to develop your infrastructure with. Think of them as a tech stop for your flood, for your flood control infrastructure that you need. So they're a great partner, and I know that this fund is meant to be responsive to the needs of the community. So if there's any ways in which we can utilize this funds to help you guys in any kind of way, we're happy to do it.
Commissioners, what's the best? Oh, yeah, just real quick, Commissioner Farias, what's the best way for us to make sure that we capture all potential opportunities that are made available by the Water Development Board? I don't really, as far as flood control goes, is that something that our Mr. Gonzalez and Mike Willow we'd want them to provide input? What other county employees would be uniquely situated to identify opportunities, I guess, in a pretty short turnaround, so we can get the application done? And my thanks to Mr. Luna and Mr. Rene Gonzalez for bringing this to our attention in such a cohesive manner. I cede the floor, Commissioner Farias.
No, I was just I'm wondering what we're targeting here. Is there a specific target that we're after on this flood control? Because if we have to match X amount of dollars out of there, I mean, I know we have a wish list, but can we afford it?
Judge, Commissioners, if you will, let me give you some history on this. About 4 years ago, we commissioned a study. We thought it wasn't going to cost anything, and it wound up costing us $90,000. There's a complete flood study on B County. I had to give my copy to FEMA. It did not go forward, but a lot of it is done. The three areas that I wanted to look at, if you will, are the Medio Creek in Pettus. It floods, and there's been some deaths up there. Moving Highway 181 to the old railroad track in Pettus. And the third one, is also in the Pettus area to replace the bridge where 623 comes into 181. But the first priority is to channelize that creek, clean the creek in Pettus. I talked to Ivan about it. He went up there and took some pictures. He said it looked like a jungle. Mr. Joe Carter and I, along with the highway department, have looked at that. Mr. Carter and I walked about a mile each way from that bridge, and we really think that the channel cleaning will really alleviate the flooding in Pettus. But those are the three projects that I'm aware of in North Bee County. There may be some in the rest of the county that I'm not aware of. I'll see.
Commissioner DeWitt, is this the one that Joe Carter presented, and was it like a cost of $72,000 for the county to clean about 3 miles of creek?
That is correct. That's it. And what I propose to do after this meeting is send Mr. Carter's contact information to Ivan via email. Mr. Carter wants to visit with them.
Excuse me, commissioners and judge. I'd like to recommend Mr. Carbajal for that notification. So he's the floodplain manager. So he has all the resources that information that probably needed.
Yes, is he on this video? He should have been here.
I don't see him on here.
No, he's not in this morning, sir.
Okay, because he was with us on the Zoom meeting with the engineers talking about this a couple of days ago.
Great, thank you.
His participation would be critical in the application as an Nfip floodplain manager, and we'll be required to submit a certification that y'all are in compliance with the Nfip.
Yes, is there some way Candy can maybe get a hold of him and have him zoom in while we're on this subject?
Yeah, let me check real quick. She's working on it right now. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner DeWitt, I don't know whether you could get a copy of Mr. Joe Carter's proposal to Rene Gonzalez, but it was a pretty accurate and I mean detailed to the, I mean down to the equipment, to the fuel, the hours used. I mean, he was real detailed on this, and I think it was just, if I'm not mistaken, that number 72,000 that keeps sticking to my mind. It would cost to clean up that 3 mile area.
Yes, Commissioner, that's what I was referring to when I was going to have the contact information. Mr. Carter has indicated to me that he wants to give them that information and visit with them. Yes, we'll get them together on this.
Okay.
The only thing we got to look at is what it may cost us. You know, we always look at the numbers because of what's coming up.
And that's what I was referring to, because category 1 is the only one that has a match. And if we can't, I mean, it might be great, but if we can't afford it, we can't afford it, period. You know?
Yeah, and that's understandable. And there's obviously no obligation that if you do submit and then that you do get invited to apply, because let's say your project ranks high because you have your rural community, all these other factors like unemployment and population growth, all that good stuff. There's a possibility that opportunity, you don't have to make that decision right then and there. You can decide, you know what, even though we're ranked high enough, our budgets are just too tight. Nobody else has offered a grant.
Yeah, we have a lot of bigger obligations right now that we're facing here in the county.
100%.
I mean, if we can't afford it, I mean, it might be the greatest project in the world, but you know, that's where I stand on that one.
100%. And I think what you don't lose anything by putting in, and you only have something to gain, because if there's another partner like GLO that can supplement what it would have been that loan amount, now you're talking a pretty big grant, right? So you won't know until you put that abridged application in and let the other state agencies that are involved through the Texas Department of Emergency Management and the GLO. Then I think at that point you could say, okay, we've exhausted most of our angles now that we've had at least 2 or 3 other state agencies become aware of y'all's need and determine if there's any money that they can put to play in your all's budget there for the grant.
So by simply applying for it, that doesn't obligate the county to any.
No, not at all. And then if you don't apply, then you won't ever find out from those other agencies if they'll fund you. So at least this way, you have nothing to lose, really.
If y'all will, I know.
It's a win-win. I mean, we apply and we go and we look at it and we go, all right, this is great. Then again, we look at our finances and go, it's great, but we can't do it. Okay, we're fine. But if not, we can go. Okay.
Yeah.
If you will, go ahead, Commissioner. Hey, if
was
you
just gonna
will,
say,
I know
go
that Ms. Natalie Gonzalez from GrantWorks contacted April regarding the GLO money, so that's probably already sitting out there waiting.
Yeah, no, that Harvey money is sitting at the GLO and all that good stuff. So that's why the water board, GLO, everybody's trying to work together to try to meet everybody's needs. So it's just very important that you get your application in, regardless of whether you really are on the final decision, because you're going to have an opportunity, if you do get invited sometime in August, to discuss as a commissioner's court, this is what we've been invited for. Here's who has been able to offer to supplement the grant. Here's what we're on the hook for, and then you all make your decision. So you're not at that point yet. That'll be later in August, if you will, once they've decided who they're going to invite in to participate.
Now, just a basic question. How are y'all compensated? I mean, you're saying you're going to submit this application for us and everything. How are y'all compensated?
If I were, this is Ivan. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Renee. You were going to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay, this is Ivan. For us, what we do, this is something that, I mean, Renee knows how to do this really quick. So it's something that for us is really quick and fast. So the way, if this goes the way we would like it to go, get approved and you decide to continue for the project, I mean, we would like for us to be considered to be, if there's an engineering part, then we would like for us to be considered for that. If there's a procedure that has to go, we have to compete, well, then so be it. But if you get the opportunity, if you get selected, you get chosen, the way we would get compensated is if the project goes to fruition, then we would go ahead and be the ones for that. If that's a mechanism that's allowed. If there's another mechanism for that, then we're okay with that. So pretty much it's our business right now. It's a business model that we want to bring here. We're experimenting with that. It's worked so far. So that's how it pays off for us, Commissioner.
So basically what I'm hearing is that you guys are willing to do all the paperwork, submit the application with our wish list, if you will, and then if we're approved, be considered for doing the engineering for the project.
That is correct. That is correct, Commissioner.
Up at that point, there's no charge to us.
No, sir, no charge.
I agree with Commissioner Haggard. This is a win-win situation, it looks like.
Real quick.
We have Mr. Carbajal on the Zoom now. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Salazar,
I just was going to say, I concur fully with Commissioner Arias' statement, but as long as we still have the opportunity to make that decision once at the end of the process, I'm willing to go with that also. So we're not obligated. No. That's my take.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Carbajal, thank you for joining us. Can you...
Yes, sir. I apologize. I was out in the field.
No, that's quite all right. We're on an agenda item discussing the flood infrastructure fund from the Texas Water Development Board, and Commissioner DeWitt had mentioned that you were on a conference call last week or a Zoom call last week discussing this very matter. Commissioner DeWitt, do you want to guide Mr. Carbajal through any particular question?
Where we've gotten, Mr. Carbajal, is to the point where they're agreeing to submit an application. We come up with the wish list projects. If it's approved, they would wish to be the engineers, but we need your input on what you feel about this project, what the priorities might be on your end, as you are the floodplain administrator for B County. So you have to sign off on everything that's done. Please give us your thoughts, sir.
And this is not the same project that we spoke about briefly before for the generator, correct? This is something totally different?
This is flood control.
Right. Well, and as far as with our aspect, Commissioner DeWitt, as you're well aware, as long as they follow the protocols, all the studies, the engineering and stuff like that, we're good to go. And we've been working pretty good as far as that other project that we had discussed about on that generator. I apologize. So all we're waiting for is the BFE, and then we can proceed on that. They've already turned in a lot of the paperwork, so that's the only thing we're waiting on, and that project's ready to go. Same thing would go for the rest of the projects.
Mr. Carbajal, I think what we're talking about is the flooding in Pettis. If you feel that's a viable project to go forward and take a look at, the channel clearing and one thing and another, the bridge replacement and possibly moving the road. What are your thoughts on those, sir?
Oh,
And I think you
absolutely.
had some information you were going to give to them.
Yes, sir, and I have it still here. Absolutely. I think that is a win-win situation for the whole North Lee County and the whole community itself. I think if we can move forward with that, it would be very instrumental for us to proceed with that. It's a drastic requirement that we try to improve those locations, especially as we know now our future patterns with our weather are very unpredictable. So whatever we can do to help alleviate some of these issues, it would be outstanding for the community and for Albee County.
Commissioner DeWitt, is there any part of that $90,000 study that we already paid for that Mr. Luna could utilize or use or anything?
He could, if we can find another copy of it, he can utilize the entire study because it's about 3 inches thick. And like I say, I had to give my copy. Mr. Willow and I had a meeting with the FEMA folks. I don't know if the auditor has a copy, but there should be 1 or 2 more copies somewhere. The judge's office should have a copy somewhere. It's very thick, very detailed. Yes,
well, surely we paid $90,000. We ought to have another copy of it someplace.
I agree. If nothing else, we should be able to go back to the company and get a couple of copies.
Yes, sir.
That's
And
only
that's what
30,000 an inch. It's 3 inches long. That's only 30,000 an inch.
There you go. And we thought it was going to not cost us anything. Remember that fiasco we got into, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
That was before my time, sir.
Goodness.
On all that information, gentlemen, I would think we should reach out to Mr. Jericho, see if he still got any of that information and see if he can provide that again for us. If I remember correctly, the same project we're talking about, I think he was one of the gentlemen who was spearheading that project with Mr. DeWitt.
We possibly could have a copy. We're going to look in our files.
And then Joe Carter had an excellent proposal that he brought to the court that was made a lot of sense and dollars and cents was right on track, but that's something else that y'all can look at as well.
Yes, we'll take a look at all that documentation, and if maybe have any of the pre-existing $90,000 study, we can look at all that. And there's no need to go after category 1 funds, and that's fine. That we shift our focus to category 2. And if there's any other elements that can be utilized in category 4, and then we'll circle back with you. So I do apologize because I have to drop in a few minutes, but when is your next scheduled commissioners court meeting? So we can circle back with you on what we've found as a result of our review.
It's a couple of weeks from now. When is it, Candy? The 26th?
May 26th.
Okay, that gives us enough time to go through and parse out all the different options and then prepare the abridged application and circle back with you guys with what that abridged application would look like. Mr. Carvajal, I'm probably going to need your signature on a NFIP compliance certification, just basically saying that you all participate in the NFIP and are in compliance with the NFIP. It's basically a 1-page form that's already included in the application. So what I'll try to do is, between coordinating with both parties, get our hands on the documentation. We'll start filling out the abridged app. I'll put that in front of you, Mr. Carvajal, that way you can kind of see the draft versions of it. And then leading up into your next meeting, you all can see everything that is basically hopefully ready to submit. It may miss an item here or two, but the goal is to have it wrapped up in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. And I'll be more than happy to do that as long as the judge authorizes that. Actually, he is the floodplains manager, but they've directed that to my office. So as long as he's okay with that, I have no problem with that, sir.
You got it.
Sir, the date you proposed for this drop dead date, is it have to do anything with the COVID-19? Was that going to delay it any, or is that moving forward? Or
they did delay it, Commissioner Farias. The original deadline was the 15th of May, and they gave everybody an extra month. Now they may give everybody another month. We don't know that yet. So we're proceeding with the assumption that there's no more extensions. They already gave everybody 30 days. And to be honest with you, it's a very, very short application, and they're not asking for a lot of information at this time. It's very, very, very high level. If they do come back and say we want an application, then that will take a little bit more effort. But for right now, it's doable in the deadline.
Judge, commissioners, do we need a written agreement with the International Consulting Engineers, or can we authorize them to move forward on this and then go from there?
I don't think, Mr. Luna, do you even need authorization to proceed at this point, or can you just proceed and then we put a new agenda item in 2 weeks to look at which one?
Yeah, we can proceed. We can proceed. We have no issues. Just like Renee mentioned, we work with Mr. Carvajal. As long as you're all in agreement, yeah, we can work and present to you next Commissioners Court what we have ready. What are the projects that were that make sense, and exactly how the application is going to look like. So again, we won't submit anything unless you guys approve. But if you're all in agreement, we can proceed right now and start getting that ready. Like Renee said, it's really quick.
Is there any requirement that when you come back at the next meeting, in order for you to actually go through the technical completion of the application or submitting it, or if we're submitting it, however that process is, is there going to be a requirement or a necessity of any agreement between the county and ICE
No,
at
sir.
that point in time?
No, sir, unless you want something, but no, sir, we wouldn't be requiring anything, sir.
Okay, so I guess Commissioner DeWitt, does that satisfy your?
Yes, it does. And Judge, on that, based on that, I would make a motion that we allow ICE to proceed and work with Mr. Carvajal and your office in any capacity that they need. And also if the auditor can find some of that information, and keep moving forward on this.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Haggard.
We have a second from Commissioner Haggard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Mr. Luna and Mr. Rene Gonzalez.
Thank you very much. We look forward to circling back with you in a couple of weeks. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Carvajal, too, for rushing back to your office.
Yes, sir. I'm
Moving
sorry
on
about
to
that.
agenda item number 15. Oh, that's no problem at all. Agenda item number 15, quarterly scofflaw collection report. It's in our packet. I don't think we have anybody from the tax assessor collector's office to provide any additional information. So does anybody have a motion or any discussion items?
I think it's just a scufflaw report, just claiming what we collected so far. If the motion's needed, I'll make that, but I think it's just a report.
Okay,
Just
so just informational.
Anything we collect is good.
Basically, we approve for filing.
Yeah, okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, moving on.
Commissioner Haggard?
That's funny. We don't have an adjournment agenda item, so we can't end the meeting. We're going to be here forever. This is going to be interesting. So,
3 days?
Not the fact that we make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
But I will second that motion right away.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for your continued patience as we zoom through the business of B County. We are adjourned.